Hey everyone, M275 here, part 3 on the V12 project on the 221 S-Class. So last video we basically took apart the motor, took the heads off and got to the cylinders. Now, a little bit concerning, if I show you on the camera here, we've got a bit of scoring on the cylinders. So let's get into it. So our heads are off, team. Quite carboned up, I think. I might be wrong, but I think they're quite carboned up. Even just look at stuff like this, you know, like decent carbon. I might be wrong. It might be normal, but I don't think it is normal. I think that's pretty heavily gunked up, right? And yeah, conveniently on all our cylinder linings, we've got some lovely score marks on them. Now cylinder 5 is okay. That cylinder is nice and clean. I wish they were all like that, but unfortunately they're not. Cylinder 4 on the other hand's got a lovely, you know, it's not deep, but it's enough to get your finger caught on it, right? And cylinder 7 or 8 I think it is. Oh, cylinder 7, sorry. 8, sorry. Look at that. That is not good. Heavily carboned up as well. So what we're doing, team, is I've reached out to, I'm just giving it a go, it might not work. I've reached out to a guy on YouTube called Tassos Moschatos, I think his last name is. You guys may know him already. And if you don't, you should watch him because he's far more entertaining than I am. He works on a lot of awesome Mercedes vehicles and other cars, and he's pretty much the legend at this, as well as guys like Alex from Legit Street Cars who did the same project. But I thought I'd reach out to Tassos because he's worked on a few M275s before, and I think he might be able to give me some advice on what to do with this block. I've found another company here in New Zealand that might possibly, I don't even know what you call it, guys. I think it's called honing or something, called like redoing the cylinder walls, cylinder lining. So we might even have a look at doing that. So in the meantime, we're just going to sort of keep the cylinders covered up, and we're going to move on to just cleaning a few bits and pieces up. I've already done some off camera, just cleaning components. For example, you saw I did that the other day. We've got the valve covers, things like the valley plate here, just cleaning that up slowly. It's still not perfect, still a bit of gunk to get out of it. Cleaning things like that up, coupling all the new parts with the correct assembly. So you'll see here I've zip tied the new O-rings and stuff to these parts. I've zip tied the bolts, and I've zip tied the new O-ring to the thermostat connection to the main radiator hose, and just doing things like that. We've got our new intake manifold gaskets ready with the wrapped up intake manifold with new air temperature sensor, with a cleaned pressure sensor, things like that. And also I've bathed some of these parts here in degreaser, so we're going to give these a nice clean up now as well, just so everything's clean. Once we find out what's happening with this block, we're going to continue and go from there. I'm picking though, we're going to have to take this whole engine apart. A lot more work than I thought, and a lot more than I wanted to venture into, being really the first true engine rebuild I've done. Getting into the bottom end, we're going to have to probably get into the bottom end and fully rip this thing apart. So we're going to have to chuck this on a stand, break the gearbox off, not break it off physically, but unbolt it, get the rear main seals out, get the crank shaft, the main crank pulley off, and start really pulling everything apart. And I'm curious to see what the main bearings look like. That'll be interesting. Anyway, for the time being, team, we're just going to skip to some shots of giving everything a bit of a clean up while we wait for some news, and then I'll come back to you with what the progress will be and how we're moving forward in this video. So team, fast forward one day, and I'm grateful to say that I had a reply from Tassos, which is very exciting. It's cool to actually get a response directly to me from him. He did a video that I'll link here in this video showing you what he said. But basically, from what I can tell, the wear that is on these pistons, or cylinder liners, sorry, is actually acceptable, and it's sort of like not normal, but it's acceptable. Apparently it can be caused by bad fuel and also dirt getting into the cylinders. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to blow the cylinders out with some air, and then I'm just going to chuck a bit of oil in them, and then turn the crankshaft, and we're going to see how bad the rest of them are. But yeah, if it's at the 12 o'clock position apparently, or the 6 o'clock position, and it's like this sort of shape, it's not as bad. It's more when it's wrinkled or sideways, things like that, where it's not ideal. So I'm real grateful because I just got a quote for about $5,000 to get this block recoated essentially, which I really don't want to. This project already owes me to date team about probably about $3,500–4,000 in parts for the motor. So I've bought a new starter motor, all the seals, new coolant tanks, new piping, new flex discs for the drive shaft, plus the new ABC suspension, which is about 4,000 New Zealand dollars. So I'm about $8,000 in already, or 5,000 US dollars. So another, $3,000 US dollars on the block. It's getting a bit expensive. So what we're going to do is, we're going to rotate the engine quickly and have another look with the pistons in a different position. Then I want to get to actually cleaning these pistons up. If everything's good, I want to get to cleaning the tops of these pistons because they're really carboned up. We've already been tidying up this valley here, sort of scraping off all the old corrosion from the coolant, and we'll start to get it ready so we can actually start putting this new plate back on. If you do notice, the M275s, for some reason, and another one of Tassos's videos shows it, I think they have like a RTV sealer that goes around most of the actual head, which is interesting. I'm not sure exactly why, but that's something we're going to have to do as well when we put it all back together again. Let's continue.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Looking at our cylinders team, it's all they're all very similar. Cylinder 12's got the same sort of scoring on it, 12 o'clock, same with cylinder 7. Cylinder 1's the same, and cylinder 6 as well. But there's no other obvious markings on the cylinders, so I'm just going to take it that they're fine. They look fine to me. I'll just review the videos a little bit more in detail and make a decision, but I'm pretty much going to just stick with what we've got. One thing we're doing, team, just while the heads are off and I'm sort of slowly working around cleaning everything, we're just replacing these really hard to get to knock sensors. There's 4 of them, so there's 2 on each side, the back of the block, and 2 on the front side of the block. So what I'm doing is taking them off, and then I'm just marking with a paint pen where the new ones go, because I'm just going to give them a clean up and everything before I put the new ones straight in. Oh, we lost one. Of course we lost one. Of course, just it's PTSD from when if you remember part 1 where the intercooler pump fell into the oil. That was hilarious. So that one was pointing just slightly down on an angle. That could have been the screw that went in the oil, but Moving on to the next one up the front here. This one again's a bit hard to get to. I actually don't even think I can get to this one. You'll see this one here is conveniently hidden behind the actual engine mount. So we've got to actually take this massive engine mount off, engine bracket, where the mount sits to, before we can even take the knock sensor off. So that's a bit frustrating, but never mind, we'll get round to it. We'll do that last one once we have the whole thing up on a stand. What we're doing, guys, is we're just preparing the heads and the what do you call it? The block. Just getting rid of all the old gasket material. You can see it's quite dirty. So we've used gasket remover to remove most of the stuff here, but it's still with your bare finger. It's still got a bit of residue on it, so it still needs to go over a few more times, like just that little lip there of sealant. And then we just need to move our way around. There's still quite a lot of build up here. So I'm just progressively working my way around slowly using gasket remover and a nylon scraper, which won't scrape the mating surface. So when we look closely, there's no scratching on the head. Same with on the block itself. So CRC gasket stripper. That's the only thing I'm using with the nylon scraper. These have come out pretty good and they're pretty smooth. There's, yeah, like, see for example that little part there. Need to go over that again. That's all smooth. You're just really looking out for real obvious clumps that are left over. You know, this is all smooth. It looks like there's stuff there, but it's still very smooth. Maybe this little piece here needs to be done again. So we're just doing that, and so I've done this whole bank here. So I'm going to do the next bank, bank 1. Then I'm going to come back, just do a clean up, and also then we're going to clean these pistons up. Now because piston 7 and 12 are at top dead center, I'll just give them a quick clean now, just using WD-40 and just a very light scouring pad. So it's not metal, I don't believe, so it doesn't scratch the piston surface itself. It just keeps it tidy. And also while we do that, we keep it away from the walls of the cylinder. It's just I'm just giving them a basic clean. I'm not making them look like brand new, because you'd only do that, I guess, if you took the pistons out of the actual block, but it's a little too risky trying to make them look spotless for no real reason apart from for me just to get the carbon off. So we're just getting the carbon off them and just making them look a little bit nicer. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put our valley plate back in, which is all ready to go. So it's been cleaned up, it's got its new gaskets, we've got 15 bolts for it, 15 new mounting bolts, which probably didn't need to be replaced, but it's like the biggest pain in the ass to get to, so we may as well put brand new bolts in. And also our new like random like metal plate that, as you can see, corroded to death on the original one. So I just need to get a vacuum in here and just clean that up again, and then we'll seal that up. Right team, we've got our turbo lines here that come off the base of the turbocharger. So here they connect to the bottom of the turbocharger via these ports here. So we're just going to clean these up. These were quite seized in there, so and you can see there's a little bit of like rusting there. So what I might do is first I'll clean them up, and if that was rust, which it might be, or it could just be oil, looks similar oil staining, then I'll maybe just leave it in a little bit of rust solution for, you know, half an hour or so, and then just lightly clean it up with a scour pad maybe. But you can see that that O-ring's like gone. It's just like flat part of the whole thing. So same on this side. But this side here, this was our this is our bank 2. So front of the engine's here, back of the engine, so left hand, right hand. That's the bank 2 side. That's that one was pretty stuck in there pretty well. So it did take me a bit of jimmying to get it off finally. And on this one here, if you look, just gotta be careful because I accidentally bent, see that metal clip? I sort of pried off it a little too hard and I managed to bend it up, so we're gonna have to flatten that back out again before we install it. I'm also gonna put some rust solution in here and just put the these nuts. They're just a little rusty. Just a teeny bit of rust remover in there. Just for an hour or so, and then we'll clean them up. I've got this stuff here. I'll do it off camera, guys. You know what I do. Yeah, we'll clean up those lines, and yeah, cool. Let's continue. So in between cleaning team, we've cleaned up this piece here. Nice and beautiful now, looks good. So we'll do the same to this piece here as well, just clean it up. I'm just using really microfiber, a bit of elbow grease, some brake cleaner. This throttle body cleaner actually does really well on a lot of things. So using that nylon brush and a pick, very gently with the pick if I'm around sealing areas. To scratch anything up. But also what we're doing, team, is we're getting our new seals prepared. So if you look at the screen here, basically we're looking through the diagrams here. So we've got our lower turbo feed for each bank. These are the lower ones here, so these are these assemblies. You can see here when I hover over it, it tells us what part we need. So 7948, so that is 7948 on this one here. There were 6 of them. So on this car we've got basically the upper lines have one on each end, the upper turbo lines. The lower ones have just one on the end that plugs into the turbo here. So these are these suckers, right? So for each bank on the lower side, I've got a set each. I've got this big gasket here, which is the same as that little one down on the floor there. That's the old one. These are pretty old, guys. Look at this, 2011. They're already 10-year-old parts, haven't even been used yet. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That's there, and then we've got our new upper ones. So as I said, the upper lines have one on each end. So those are there ready. So we're going to zip tie those to the actual lines. Same with this one here. The only part I'm missing that I've ordered and I haven't received it yet, I forgot about it when I placed the order, was this O-ring here, 7748. That connects to the block. And I believe that's an oil feed line that connects to the block. So if I go 7948, wait a minute, no, that's the one, no, 7748, sorry, 7748, turbo oil feed to block O-ring, yeah, 4 of those. I haven't received those yet. Oh, I have. No, I have received them. Oh, okay, cool. That's why, team, you keep a track of everything you receive. Oh, that's good then. didn't realise I'd received those. Those are our subframe bolts, lower subframe bolts. 7748. What ones are they? They must be these ones. Yeah, there we go. Okay, no, I tell a lie, I've already got them. There's 3 there, there's supposed to be 4, so there's our extra one. 7748. Oh, perfect, okay, oh, that's good. So in that case, we actually do have everything to zip tie to these lines here that we need. So we can complete all of the part matching and cleaning of this now. Yeah, cool. So just a quick explainer anyway. We'll continue on and move on. It's raining pretty loudly, team, so I'm just speaking up here. But we've got our new little metal central plate that goes inside the valley in here. So it's all pretty cleaned up pretty well now. Yep, down in there. So we're going to sit this in there like that. So I'm just going to test fit it. I've removed all the old material and cleaned it all up. So it's pretty mint now compared to what it used to be. And then we're just going to seal it in with RTV and screw it onto the base there with the 3 screws, 1, 2 and 3. Sweet. So team, we're sort of right now at the halfway point, you could say. We've got our new O-ring, our new infamous O-ring, the one that causes our lovely leak. And we also have our new gasket that goes around the edge of this sucker here. So what I'm going to do is just use a bit of Vaseline, very light film of it, and set our new O-ring on here. I'm just going to give this a quick wipe with a cloth, just to get any last bits and pieces off it. And then we're going to install this back into the car. I have purchased new screws as well. I think there's 15 in total. Yeah, I think it's 15. So we're going to insert those as well with it. Not that they need to be done. And one problem, team, is I can't find a torque spec for these blinking bolts that go into here. Now these bolts are quite thick. I think they're like M8 bolts. So I'm just going to do it up to about 15 Newton meters anyway. And I'll see if I can verify it somewhere else. But I think that'll be more than enough torque for these bolts on top of this cover here. Cool, so let's install a seal. It's in place. It's all in place, it's done. It's sitting nicely. It sort of slots in, team, on these little dowels on the actual pan itself. So I'm just doing one final check to make sure everything's got a bit of lubrication on it. No dust or big dust particles, obvious. Now we can install it. If this doesn't work, if this leaks after I install it and put the car back together, I'm going to sell everything and just like flip and play Mechanic Simulator or something if that game exists, and then I don't have to worry about the actual real cost of all of the stuff I'm doing here. Cool, so let's take it over to the car and install it. So guys, we're going to now refresh our diverter valves. So here's the original one, there's one on each bank. And we're not upgrading them or anything fancy, we're just replacing them with the genuine units, right? So I've got a kit here for them. I was told that this kit was discontinued, but I managed to be able to order 2 of them, right? So there's a kit that has all the bits in it that you need. There's the product code there. And it just comes with a collection of different parts you'll need in this build, like a new plate, a new face plate, new inner bits and pieces. That doesn't look good. I don't know what that is, we'll find out what that is. I don't know if it's supposed to be broken like that, but okay. And new screws. Cool, so let's open this up and see what's inside. It's like a little Mercedes lunchbox. Just don't know how good these things would taste. Okay. So we've got the cover there, the cap. And that's a part built in 2019, so it's pretty much brand new, new old stock. Yeah, we've got these little plastic fragments. Here's the diaphragm, I imagine. Now the diaphragm has no obvious physical damage to it, so these plastic bits must just be from something else. I've got a brand new spring, that's fine, and I imagine these are just the new bolts to go on the end with a bit of thread lock applied already. So that's nice and easy. Just to verify, team will open up the other one, same exact setup. Same exact setup. I feel like these were put together by different people. Yeah, okay, that's good. Same parts, team. Spring, cover. This looks exactly the same as this one. That's good. And 3 screws. Cool, perfect. So we've got both sides. We'll do one side first. So what we'll do first is we'll clean up the current turbo area around it. Then we'll take the old one off and disassemble it. So guys, these are actually flipping like new condition, like literally like brand new. There's like no fatigue marks that I can see. Nothing. It's like it's brand new. It's like a brand new part. Wow, okay, interesting. I thought these would have been toast. Okay, we're gonna put our new ones in anyway. But this is good because we can keep these as spare parts and sell them again. Yeah, this one's the original, built in 2006. So it's actually it's actually in fine condition. I would have thought there'd be micro cracks on this sort of plastic, but with the naked eye, at least it looks brand new. So let's clean up the little area here and reinstall it. But before I do that, let's have a look to the inside. So you can see there's I don't know what's through there. I imagine, yes, I imagine that's a bypass there, yeah. And that's the intake from the, that's where the pressurized air from the intercooler comes in and then goes straight into the turbine here. Which, sorry, no, wait a minute, no. This is the low pressure, straight from the air intake. Low pressure air comes into here, through into here, and then it gets compressed, and then it comes out through this port here, goes into the turbocharger, goes into the intercooler, then goes into the intake, obviously, and this little sucker here, it's obviously got some sort of, I don't know how exactly it works, but obviously it somehow like I guess pushes forward, perhaps comes forward and gives it enough room for the air to bypass through here, which would, I imagine, go straight into, then straight out. You know what, I don't know. I don't know. Can someone here explain this, please? Leave a comment, let me know how this works. Obviously there is some form of air that comes out through this system here, so yeah, there's something that still bleeds air out of here. I just have no clue how that works. So yeah, anyway, let's continue, clean that and put a new one on. So fast forward team, probably a week or so now, we've finished cleaning up the pistons and just giving them a very gentle clean up, because I've already gotten a little bit of cleaner in one of the cylinder walls, and you can see where it's left a very slight mark at the top. It's smooth and it's fine, there's no you know, it hasn't eaten away at anything, but I'm just very cautious, so we've just kept it to a minimum. I'll show you. So just basic cleaning there, team. And while I've done it, while we've cycled these up to top dead center, we've just been gentle on the walls by just wiping them with a brand new microfiber, just wiping all the old carbon that sort of streaks down the walls as you do it. So what we're doing at the moment is we're really waiting for two things. We're waiting for first, I've ordered a engine crane or mount. Can't remember the bloody name for it, but an engine crane and a stand. Sorry, that's an engine stand for this. So what we've done is we've disconnected the flywheel bolts. As you can see in there, we've disconnected the flywheel bolts. There's 6 of them in 3 different sets around the flywheel, or the flex plate, I think it's called, the proper term for it. And yeah, so now we've literally just got to undo these transmission lines here and these main bolts around the transmission itself. Then we can pull this transmission off and get to the basically the rear end of the engine. So I might try and see if I can get a bit of muscle to help me do this without the crane. I think the gearbox weighs about 80 kilos, so I might put it on my jack underneath there, and just with a bit of help from someone, just break it away and then drop it down, and just carefully lift it onto a pallet or onto some cardboard, just so we don't scratch or damage anything. But then what we can do is we can move on to the rear main seal, and I've already got the rear main seal plate that I ordered team here. The actual seal itself is the same seal used on the M113. So the kit I've already got up on the shelf there that I used on my E55 will fit this perfectly. But if the rear main seal on this is fine, I'm not going to touch it. If it's not leaking, I'm not going to touch it. I'm just leaving it, okay? But if it is leaking, then I'll replace it. I think it's aluminium there, so I'll replace it. But yeah, we'll just see what happens. So what we're going to do now, team, is just remove these transmission cooling lines. I've disconnected them already from these different mounting points. There's a mount bracket here, and there's also one down the bottom underneath here as well, and one here. So I've undone those, so they're loose now. So we're going to pull these lines fully out, so they're out of the way of the transmission when we drop it out. And we'll probably reassemble them either on the stand, or probably actually not on the stand. No, we'll probably wait till it's all back on the subframe again.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So team, we've pulled the transmission off, but obviously the torque converters come out separately, which is a bit of a pain. But we managed to get it off all good without scratching it. So we'll reinstall it just to seal it again, and then we're taking off the flex plate. And when you take off the flex plate, just counter hold the crank at the front to make sure that you don't spin the engine counterclockwise, which with the heads off probably doesn't matter, to be honest, but anyway. So as you can see, the oil's flicked up everywhere from the rear main seal. I didn't think this would leak, but obviously it has, so Nick's just going to crack these male Torx bolts off, and then we can pry the whole seal off to then put a new one on. Rightio, so a little bit windy here at the moment in the shed a few days later. So we've cleaned up the surface pretty well. We're just going to go through and just do a little bit of final touch-ups here. So it's really clean, but it's already pretty good. Now, this engine's quite a dirty engine, a lot of varnish. Like down here, you know, quite dirty. A little bit disappointing, but never mind. We've owned it for nearly 3 years now. We're giving it very regular oil changes, so it's in good hands. Hopefully there's not any real bad wear inside here, but yeah. So what we're going to do now is just clean this a bit more. We're going to try and scrape some more of that residue off. Then we've got the torque converter, the new end cover, this side team, magnesium cover, and it goes on this way, so this way faces out. This way has all the sealant on it. So if you look here, the blue lines mark the sealant pathways on the system here. So if we open up that file and we zoom in a little bit on my little Mac here, yeah. So for example, we don't need to do this piece. It's just like, you know, it's here, up and around, under here, up, under there. Before we put the sealant on, just going to wipe it with a bit of cleaner, with a bit of brake cleaner, just to make sure there isn't any residues on here from manufacturing process or anything, including this tape stuck to it. So make sure this tape residue's gone, just to make sure we've got the best bond possible with the back plate of the engine. And yeah, so it definitely was leaking, team. Like if you look even in the gearbox, we've got a lot of oil residue in here from the engine oil. Obviously the transmission's got a little bit of oil leaking out of it since I pulled the torque converter out, but that's fine, that's normal. Yeah, so we're going to put our sealant on now and then install it in the engine. Let's go. So team, we've got the motor on a stand now, which is pretty exciting, pretty cool. First time I've ever touched an engine on a stand before. So bear with me, give me some tips if I'm doing anything wrong. But what the purpose of this on the stand is really just to get to this bottom oil pan. So we've got the lower oil pan here, and then we've got the upper oil pan. And this has a seal on it up here. There's a seal, whereas the bottom pan is just simply RTV'd onto the bottom. We also have our oil level sensor, which is just in there, you can see. So once we take this bottom pan off, we'll be able to actually get into the area where that sensor is, so we can replace it, along with removing the whole oil pan. But what I'm going to do first is just take the bottom pan off, just crack the bottom pan off, and then I am going to let it just drain for a while before we then take the main pan off and we flip it up around the other way and clean it out. the S600. Now we're going to get on to part 4. I'm away for a week, so we're going to start a fresh video, getting back into putting the heads on, putting the car back together so we can finally drive it before Christmas comes up. But enjoying the views in Thailand for the next few days. Cheers.